Hi, everyone. Welcome back to part two with Art Brown. Forgive me for saying Art Miller, but we have Art Brown, the fabulous executive producer of your favorite shows like the Emmy nominated and Emmy winner Dragons, Race to the Edge for DreamWorks Animation, and so many more, especially the Nickelodeon show The Boy Who Cried Wolf, starring Brooke. And he's in development for a brand new show called, and it's based on a true story. It's called The Last White Rhino that has Appian Way attached. So let's welcome back Art Brown, who works with TJ Miller, to the show.
I'll take it. I'll be a Miller for the show. It's all right. TJ and I are really close. So
Hi, TJ. You got Art Brown's on the show today. Hope you're listening. We have fun on this show. Our audience is like, yeah, we love it. It's raw talk, and all the fun bloopers are in the show. So, you were talking. Yeah, you were sharing with us some of you're directing the voiceover sections, as well as you were the EP and showrunner for the show as well, and how your incredible luck just landed in your lap, this big opportunity to make the show a super hit.
Yeah. It was an opportunity that we didn't necessarily see. We just took a chance on a job that we wasn't in the plans, man. Wasn't in the master plan. But I always say, like, if you're going from here to here, there's a lot of ways you can get there. So it's a perfect example of, being able to shift and to do things, take a chance on something and do things that you didn't plan on doing, because you never know how it's gonna end up. I was just having this talk with a friend of mine this morning. He's a pretty big director. He and I are really close, and we were talking about the same thing. He's been turning down stuff because he's got his own stuff he wants to do, and how difficult that is. But if you don't turn it down, you're gone for 4 months. So anything that you want to do is pushed further down the road. So anyway, that's sort of the lesson in there. Take chances that you don't think are the way you necessarily want to end up. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and then like there's so many of us that are listening, and our listeners are like, they're trying to figure out how they can become a writer, a director, a producer, or a voiceover actor. So it's so beautiful that you're sharing with us some of just your ups and downs, and then how you embraced opportunity and ran with it. And you seem to have this ability. Like, you go to law school and you're number one in your class, and then you have this opportunity to work with DreamWorks on the Dragons, Race to the Edge, and you go to the top with so many Emmy nominations and wins, and it's the most DreamWorks most successful animated TV series. So you go straight to the top. So I love that. There's something about you that it's in your DNA to become this fabulous writer, showrunner, EP, producer. So yeah. So do you want to share with us any other stories that you're working on, or?
I will. I just want to say real quick that all that credit goes to my parents, because, they instilled at me as a young age that you don't quit things. If you're going to do them, you do them right. And when I started out as an actor, my mom was the top actress in her country, in Brazil.
Wow.
She actually started the theater school in Bahia over there. And when I started acting, she said, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it right. And she made me go study, and she made me take Shakespeare classes and all that sort of stuff, and literature classes, which ended up all helping me in my writing. Again, it's doing something. You don't know where it's going to come to fruition, or where it's going to help you. So anyway, that comes from my parents for sure. Gave me that attitude, and
I love that.
It's about doing things to the best. You can't always know if something's going to be a number one show or whatever. You can't control that. What you can control is the level you expect from yourself, and the amount of work and heart that you put into it to do it the best to your ability, and then hopefully everything takes care of itself from there.
Yeah, and I especially loved how your writer's room, or however you would like to call that writer's room, you were generous and kind and nurturing and fun to work with, but yet you were smart and you were a true leader. And I believe that welcomes the best of people as opposed to just this harsh mush mush crack the whip, which not even having any fun, or but just your guidance and your leadership is extraordinary.
And you know what? You want people to want to work for you. It's just very similar that I've passed on things when I needed the money because it just wasn't me, and it's similar. Like I now do projects that I want to do that means something to me. I don't care if it takes a little longer to get them done or what have you. I want to work with people who I want to work with. I want to work with cool people, and I want to do projects that inspire me. And so, that's the way I approached Dragons and my other projects, and that's the way I've approached my new stuff.
Yeah, and so do you want to share with us like your new project that you're working on?
Yeah, I have about my manager thinks I'm insane. Like I literally, if I'm not writing, I go crazy. So I'll finish something, give it to him, and I'll be like, okay, what's next? So I probably have about 5 features that are out in different stages right now. One of them, again, they're all things I really want to work on. One's called The Last White Rhino. That's based on a true story. It's a few years ago, a rhino named Sadan in Africa passed away, rendering his subspecies, the northern white rhino, extinct. It was a big cover of him on Nat Geo. And it was an amazing story. And he had an interesting life. He had been captured as a rhino pup, was taken to Russia, or Czechoslovakia, actually, where he was in a circus and a zoo. And when the African government realized he was the last northern white rhino left, they launched a mission to rescue him and bring him back. And then he was under 24/7 guard the rest of his life. So I wrote, it's sort of like Lion King meets Big Fish. And it's Sadan at the end of his life, looking back on his life and trying to understand this species called humans. And it's funny and it's tragic and it's beautiful and it's uplifting, even though the ending is the ending, it's still uplifting because they've done some stuff where they can, through artificial insemination, where they're trying to bring the species back. So that was really cool. And we got Appian Way, Leonardo DiCaprio's company, attached to it, and Crazy Rose, Jean-Marc Vallet's company. Jean-Marc unfortunately passed over the holidays, which is really sad. His partner Nate is a really good.
I'm sorry about that.
It's something which made us, yeah. But it's something, it's right in the wheelhouse for Appian in terms of conservation and all that sort of stuff. So we have that out right now. Seeing where we set that up.
Is it going to be?
And then I have another.
Is it going to be? Sorry. Is that going to be live action or animation or a drama film?
It's going to be probably animated. It could be a hybrid. It just depends. I initially wrote it as a hybrid, but then Appian said, well, let's do it fully animated. So, I adjusted it for that. The movie doesn't change much if it's going to be hybrid or it's just what you can do and what it costs and all that sort of stuff. So as right now, it's animated, and we'll see if it lands somewhere. If not, then we may reassess and do it hybrid. So we'll see.
Oh yeah.
But there's another show. I have another true story. I love animals. I'm a huge dog person. I donate to all sorts of dog charities. If you ever look at my Facebook or Instagram, that's pretty much all I post is animal stuff. I'm a huge animal lover, and I think that's one of the reasons why Dragon spoke to me a lot, because someone pointed out to me that it's basically a rescue show. right? It's kids rescuing these dragons. So that sort of has formed into some of my other projects, not all of them, but this second one I have is also based on a true story. It's called Yoshi, and it was this loggerhead sea turtle that 20 years ago was rescued as a baby off the coast of South Africa, and she grew up 20 years in this aquarium. And I think it was like 2017 or 18, they released her and put a tracker on her to see where she'd go. And she swam 23,000 miles across the Indian Ocean to Australia, where they think that's her nesting site, because they have this inner mapping in them sea turtles. So I was like, that's a movie, and so I actually was over. It was during the pandemic. I thought, okay, what can I do? I hadn't written the script yet, so I went out and because in today's world, like, you got to do more than just write a script. You got to create a deck. You got to do something. What else is going to give it that pizzazz? So I actually did a trailer and voiced it. We took live footage of different animals and sort of crafted her journey in a trailer form and voiced it. It was really, really funny. So we have that, and that's sort of out right now. But her story is amazing. It's got a little Wizard of Oz feel to it, in a really cool way. She's got sort of these three other a sea lion and a mantis shrimp and another humphead parrotfish. That's sort of her Tin Man, Scarecrow, and Lion, sort of encouraging her as they cruise across.
Oh.
So it's really cool. I had written that, and I hadn't gone out with it yet because the idea was to wait till we set up Rhino and then go out with that afterwards. So, but I have gotten some interest on it recently, so we're testing the waters with it. But those two were both animated and family fare. And then on a completely different spectrum, I'm writing a movie right now called The Great Imposter, which I'm developed with Happy Madison Productions for Adam Sandler, and it's a really, really cool father-son story. That there was a guy in the late 70s, early 80s named Barry Bremen, and he was known as the Great Imposter. They did a 30 for 30 on him, and he would sneak into sporting events as the athlete. So he was tall and athletic looking, and he really did it. There was no social media back then, it was really to make people laugh. He stuck into the NBA All-Star game and did layups with the teams. He caught fly balls
with the team.
Yeah, it was really cool. He even dressed up as a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader and did that until he got busted. He made it about, I think, like 10 minutes or something. But he would really meticulously plan these things. And that was sort of one part of the story. The other part of the story is during the same time, they found out years later, his family, that he was a habitual sperm donor. And he's got as many as 80 kids out there. They've already found 43 of them. So Happy Madison came to me and said, like, can you take these two stories and meld them into one? And I was like, sure. So I created this really cool father-son story where the main character, he and his girlfriend have sworn off marriage and family and have lived the best lives in the world, traveling the world to all the best events you can imagine. And they suddenly find out she's pregnant, and he's freaking out because he didn't have a dad. He was the only child of a single mom and never knew who his dad was. But she needs some medical history on his dad. So through a series of circumstances, he found out his dad, he was a sperm donor baby. And he sets off to find his dad, which he finds, and they go off together on a journey to find the other siblings. And that's the real basic. There's a lot more to it, but it's a real fun story. I'm writing that right now, and family is great. I have the family support. I pitched it to them, and they were all crying, and which was awesome. Like, to me, like that's the most important part. And so it's just really fun. It's different from anything else I have, and so I'm enjoying that. Hoping to have that done in the next month.
Oh, right, and that's for Adam Sandler to star in or act in or just produce?
Yeah, uh, ideally for him to star in. Um,
That would be incredible for
you know,
him.
he's it would. You know, the reason I was interested in writing is because I wasn't really interested in writing like a big broad comedy, but he's, as you know, from like Uncut Gems and some of the stuff he's doing, like he wants to do more serious stuff. And so the fact that this is, don't get me wrong, it's funny,
It
it's
sounds
action packed, it'll be
hysterical.
all that. But the core of the story is, yeah. But the core of the story is, you know, if you met your dad late in life and you had a few weeks with him to figure out how to be a dad yourself, what would you do, and what would you soak out of it? So it's really a coming of age father son story at its core, which is what made me interested in doing it to begin with.
And I wanna ask you, did, you said you didn't have kids, but do you have kids now or because you write a lot of children's stories?
Yeah, no, I'm recently divorced, but I got married during Dragons in 2016, and she had 3 kids.
Okay.
So I took on a whole family, uh, and at that time the kids were like 11, 9, and 6. So we were
Aw.
together. We were together 5 years. So that was just during the time that I was doing this stuff. But yeah, I don't think that in and of itself, uh, made me more likely to write kid stuff. I just think it just happened at that time. I'm sort of a. I remember when I first met the youngest, Jameson, and he was like 5 or 6, and I was like, I totally see eye to eye with you, like, because I'm just like a big kid at the end of the day. So um, I think it definitely helped, though. Like, honestly, there are elements in different projects that I do that would not be there or would not be executed as well had I not had that experience and had I not um, been a stepdad for those years. And me and my ex are totally cool, and I still talk to the kids and try to take them out when I can and stuff. So I try to stay involved in their lives.
Yeah, because like Dr. Seuss didn't have kids either, but he had like stepkids, I believe. And I write children's content, and everyone always asks me. I wasn't saying it to be mean or anything. I was wondering because I don't
Yeah,
have any children, but I write kid stuff all day long because my kids
right,
podcast is ranked top 1%. And
right.
I just love creating stories, and I create lots of animal stories. And I wanted to say I love the Last White Rhino because I wrote Skip Boots' Big Safari Jungle Adventure. It's a little,
Mm,
red panda, and I dedicated that to Cecil the lion when he was shot,
mm,
and,
right.
the whole story is Skip Boots, his parents are found by, in a pound, and they're red pandas, and someone takes him to Africa, so he goes to look for his parents, and he's like the lovable, out of fish guy panda with, cowboy boots and a little blanket that turns into things, and he talks to all the
Cute.
animals, and then he meets all the hip hop jungle animals who wants to eat him alive, but he saved an elephant, and so she protects him, and then he saves the day, and they have a sanctuary. So I love that you love animals. I love that Appian Way, Leonardo DiCaprio's company is going to pick that up because it's so important that our the wildlife is becoming extinct and who's going to be their voice. So those are beautiful stories that you have.
Yeah,
I'm so excited. And your little otter story that's going to be like they have the like little Wizard of Oz team. Like it sounds like
yeah.
smashingly good. And I've got Charlie the dolphin adopted by octopus family. So we love
Cute.
I love writing and it's just so fun. So where can anyone they can like watch your stuff or where can they like keep up with you? Do you have social media or a website that you want to share with everybody?
Um, yeah, I'm on Instagram, um, and Facebook, and Twitter. I don't post a lot, but like I said, I'm also on LinkedIn. People can reach out to me. And people will reach out and for advice sometimes, and I try to try to help out where I can, at least giving people some direction if they need it. But like I said, most of my posting is usually not about me. It's usually about animals or something funny.
Oh
Or
yeah,
as my dog Morgan is in a lot of my stuff. She's 13 right now. I've had her since she was a puppy, and everybody knows Morgan. I actually used to take her to work when I was working for Dragons, and she would go and find the person who was having the rough day and just be in their office. It was really, really cute. And I just was at a wedding last week, and I saw a bunch of my old crew, and they were like, "Oh my God, how's Morgan? We miss her." So everybody was much happier to see her than she was me, which is totally cool.
sounds like
But
a
yeah, it was great.
movie. Morgan the service dog. Yeah, I created dog rescue on Facebook when my first dog died, and so now like people post all the dogs that are in the shelters to try to rescue them, especially the red ones. And I
Right.
also created a show called the Sniff Squad where the children go get these dogs out of the rescues and turn them into like extraordinary animals where people get them for social service or helping them with different things, and suddenly they find that like they're getting all the dogs out of the shelters. So yeah, I gotta talk to you about like this documentary you're working on. Stan Getz. I mean, come on. Do. Yes, please. Can you share with us about this incredible documentary on Stan Getz?
Yeah. What's funny because a good friend of mine is Stan's son, Nick, and I've known him for I don't know 30 years, and he's always wanted to do a movie on his dad to honor his dad, and I was always too busy, so I'd give him some advice here and there, and he struggled for a while getting it going, and just it's about right before the pandemic hit, I was like, listen, I have some time if you want me to help out. So we started shooting. We shot his mom, who's still alive, and Kenny G. Kenny G Stan was like his idol. Kenny's a really, really cool guy, really super sweet. Shot him, and he actually sampled some uh, notes from Stan, some never published notes, and wrote a duet with him, which was really cool, and it's out on his new album. And so we did a trailer, and we did a little Kickstarter campaign, which we raised some money from to give us some development funds, and we're now out to directors to see who we're gonna have come in and finish off sweeten up the trailer with some additional interviews, make it a little bit more contemporary, and then move to making the documentary and ultimately making maybe a feature. The story. Stan was, his mom, Nick's mom, Monica, was really big behind Stan's success, and when they came back they were living in Sweden or Denmark for about 5 years, and when he came back to New York, he couldn't get arrested because jazz had changed. His was very melodic, and jazz had changed to be upbeat and fast, Miles Davis and all that sort of stuff. And it was his mom that introduced him to the Brazilian bossa nova guys that they came over for dinner and stayed for 2 years. And they wrote the album, Gets Gilberto. They wrote the album with Girl from Ipanema on it in the house. Then Universal wouldn't release it because they thought bossa nova was dead. So Monica went and knocked down doors to get people to play it. Smash cut to it being the only non-pop artist to ever win the big two at the Grammys, album and record of the year. And the funny part about it is I'm not really a jazz fan, so I'm kind of the right guy to
What? You don't like jazz? Come on, the girl for Ipanema? That is awesome.
introduce him to a younger audience. And I didn't really get it until Nick and I had taken him to a hockey game downtown, and we were walking outside of Staples, and they have all the Grammys on the ground, and he just goes, "Stop and look down." And I looked down, and it was his dad had won, and beat out like the Stones and Barbra Streisand and the Beatles were best new artist, and I was like, whoa! And it wasn't until then that I really got it. So it's interesting. It's cool. It's in the turbulent '60s. We're doing a, when you tell a biopic, you can't tell the whole thing. You sort of have to pick a time period and do it from there. So that's what we're doing. We're telling it in that time period from when he came back to the Grammys when they won all. I think it won 5 Grammys, nominated for 7. I think they won 5.
Wow.
So it's been pretty cool. It's been pretty cool. It's totally different. I mean, I haven't made a documentary before, so it's a different animal. But it's interesting. It's cool.
Yeah, Art Brown, you're an ace, and everyone around you, like, look, you're just attracted to like winners, and you become winners. So this sounds like it's going to be a nominated documentary. I'm pretty sure, and come back when you do, because I'd love to talk about that. Yeah. Anything
Absolutely.
else you'd like to share with our wonderful audience listening with us today?
No, I don't know. I don't really have anything profound to say. Anybody who's, I will say this: do what you can control. So when I meet young writers and they say I'm a writer, the first question I ask them is, do you write every day? Because if you don't write every day, you're not a writer. Because that's something you can do, no matter what. That's what you can do. That's your job. If that's what you want to do. That's your job. So it doesn't matter if you're working on something you're getting paid for, or working on a spec or whatever. You always want to hone your craft. I thought I was a good writer before Dragons, but after writing 120 episodes of a show, I was like, whoa, I was not that good of a writer before. And my point is, you always get better because every script has its own set of complications, and you get better at solving them. So, I would just say, pick projects that you're passionate about, and write. And don't worry about the other stuff, because you can't control it anyway. So you can't control if someone's going to buy it. You can't control what people are going to think about it. All you can do is, what inspires you, and do it to the best of your ability.
And that's amazing advice. Yeah. Because you're right. Because I had no idea that anyone listened to my podcast, Enchanting Book Readings. And when you see #1 in countries around the world, like, I literally had to learn to write a new story a week. It's work. I spent 15 hours a day, but it's so fun when I write a new story. And like you said, I'm getting better and better. But I want to just thank so much Art Brown for coming on the show today. He's an Emmy-winning executive producer, the showrunner, writer, and he just produced Dragons Race to the Edge for DreamWorks Animation. And you can check out some of his other stuff, like on Nickelodeon, The Boy Who Cried Werewolf, and his other amazing films that are going to be coming up. I hope you look out for The White Rhino and The Great Imposter, which he is working with Happy Madison and Adam Sandler, and look out for his documentary with legendary saxophonist Stan Getz, The Girlfriend Ipanema. Thank you so much, Art, for being on the show with us today.
Thank you. Good time.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. And take a second to like and subscribe. And until next week, enjoy this 2-part series with Art Brown.